Hi, I'm AdamsDownBoy and welcome to the 7th and final video in the Muthacluckers Clan's video guide to Destiny 2's Root of Nightmares raid with my clanmates Erin PK, Frel UK, Electric Sheep, Minoni, Tukes and Zone Runner. We'll be demonstrating the final encounter where your fire team will face off against the raid's boss, Nezarec, final god of pain, an ultra yellow bar tormentor. Your aim in the final encounter is to kill him, damaging him after he's made vulnerable by a blast of energy triggered by finishing dark and light seed chains, each one 7 nodes long. To do this, your fire team will need to juggle Nezarec's attention away from your runners and set up light or dark refuges to survive a wipe mechanic all the time while clearing adds. The encounter takes place in a space between the Traveller, trapped with the portal created at the end of the Lightfall DLC campaign, and the Tree of Silver Wings which you saw at the start of the raid and might remember from the Cradle on Io in the Season of Arrivals. If you're interested in the lore behind the tree, My Name is Bife has a video explaining it which I'll put the link to in the description. As you jump up to the final encounter area, you'll see a rectangular arena with Nezarec in a darkness sarcophagus at the back, floating above a high platform. On each side are 6 dormant nodes on low pedestals in broadly symmetrical patterns, and at the front, roughly in line with the rally banner, is a buffed light node to your left, this is the light side, and a buffed darkness node to your right, which is the dark. Before starting the encounter description, I'll quickly run through the terminology I use here when describing the nodes for the runners, but there's a fuller description in the first video of this series. There are 2 types of seeds, light which are coloured blue-white and darkness coloured orange-brown. These can appear in one of 4 states: buffed, which have a formed seed surrounded by a matching colour aura, active, which have a formed seed but no aura, inactive, which have a dark grey seed surrounded by a light and dark helix, and dormant, which have a light and dark helix but no seed. The encounter is started by shooting one of the buffed nodes or by approaching Nezarec too closely, so if this is your first time here, you have some latitude and can have a little look around. For the boss fight, your fire team will split into 2 groups of 3, left and right. Within each team, one will be the runner, connecting the nodes and growing the seeds on each side, and also for this encounter creating refuges, a mechanic we'll discuss shortly. One will be the stunner, breaking Nezarec's crit spots and taking the bulk of his attention so the runners can do their job, and one will be the gunner, aggressively clearing the continuously spawning Cabal reinforcements so the runners and stunners can operate without too much interference. Stunners have 2 main jobs: identifying the paracausal energy type of the overwhelming energy wipe mechanic and distracting Nezarec from attacking the runners. They'll identify the wipe mechanic flavour by shooting his 2 shoulder crit spots. When the second one is broken, he releases an aura that matches the upcoming attack, which the stunners need to call out so that the runners can set up a matching refuge. Their other task is to take Nezarec's attention. Left alone, he will target a random fireteam member with an untimed debuff called Nezarec's Hatred. You'll see the debuff message in your feed along with a purple tinge running around the edge of your screen. Anyone affected will be repeatedly booped into the air by a damaging void psionic blast like the ones Scions use. This will make chain building impossible for a runner, so the stunners will need to shoot his chest crit spot quickly to take the hatred debuff after his shoulders are broken, in case they themselves are the ones targeted, as being booped will make shooting crits difficult. Doing this will remove the hatred debuff from the other guardians and replace it with a 12-second long Nezarec's hatred debuff for you alone. Instead of the psionic blast attack, he will actively chase you down, attacking with his axe and jump dive suppressing you to the exclusion of other fireteam members for the duration of the timer. It's useful to have a second stunner as a backup to take the hatred in turn if Nezarec's attention is proving too much to handle. Also, remember that the best thing to do when he's preparing a jump dive attack is to be running to the side to get as far away from the landing spot. If you can time a slide as he lands, you'll not be bumped much at all. If you're running and on the ground, you'll be bumped a little way, but if you're in the air when he lands, you could be bumped off the platform to die, as the boop attack has its greatest effect when you're in the air. While it's tempting, just try to resist jumping to get out of the way, as the suppression debuff will prevent you from activating your jump or melee ability for 4 seconds. The runner's job will be familiar from the first and second encounters. using the gardener mechanic to grow a chain of 7 seeds from the first buff node near the starting point to the final node near to where Nezarec's high platform is. As in earlier encounters, the buff node will move as the chain is extended, starting out at node 1 but moving after it's been shot 3 times. The runner will need to check where the buff node has relocated to each time. The route is a little randomised, similar to Cataclysm, with the 3rd and 4th and 5th and 6th nodes being paired. In the Nezarec fight, runners have an additional responsibility, which is to create a refuge to protect the fireteam from the boss wipe mechanic. If you recall, during the second parkour section before Macrocosm, the fireteam created refuges against overwhelming darkness by carrying the field of light buff to a darkness seed and activating it. The same method is used here, so if the stunners call out that the wipe mechanic is darkness, the light runner must take the field of light buff to an active but not buffed darkness node and activate it by shooting it. Likewise, if the stunners call out that the wipe mechanic will be light, the dark runner must take Flux of Darkness to an active light seed to create a light refuge. The refuge will be visible as an aura around the seed and differs from a normal buff node in having an additional beam that connects with the ground. Stepping into it will give a refuge buff which lasts for 15 seconds after leaving the aura. You'll need to time your visit to the refuge to make sure you're not getting out too early and hanging around too long waiting, as this will give time for adds to respawn and for Nezarec to attack a concentrated group of guardians, but you will need to leave enough time to get the refuge buff and avoid the wipe. Gunners will need to add clear aggressively. Cabal will spawn in regularly on left, mid and right sides, including a yellow bar Colossus whose slowing missiles and rapid slug fire will be a major threat for your runners amongst the regular red bar miners. After starting the encounter, Nezarec will drop down from his platform to the main arena and adds will start spawning in significant numbers. The runners will start building their chains. The stunners will break the shoulder crits to determine the wipe mechanic paracausal energy type and then shoot his chest crit spot to take the timed hatred debuff, and the gunners will add clear on their side, paying particular attention to the Colossuses. Once the wipe mechanic type is ascertained, the relevant runner will set up a refuge to protect the fireteam. The Cluckers generally set up the refuge on the second node if possible, as these are both closer to the centre of the map, so a bit more convenient for everyone to get to. It's also a bit safer than the first node, where Nezarec can quite easily boop you from the plate with a refuge out of the arena with his jump dive suppression attack. However, circumstances might dictate that you have to use the first node, if the buff node is currently on the second plate, or Nezarec or adds are making things difficult. Whoever sets it up needs to call out where the refuge is so that people know where they have to travel to. Everyone should start to converge on the refuge and make sure that they're close enough to dip into it while still clearing as many adds as they're able. Once Nezarec starts the wipe mechanic, they can dip in one last time, knowing that the 15-second refuge timer will last long enough to survive the overwhelming energy attack. Everyone can then resume what they were doing beforehand. After Nezarec has used his wipe attack, he will teleport back to his starting platform. If there's a delay with building the seed connections, it's possible to set up a second refuge within the add phase. The stunners will need to repeat the cycle of breaking the shoulders again to reveal the paracausal energy type, call this to the runners for them to create the correct refuge, and then chest crit to take the Nezarec's hatred timed debuff again. Now, it's just my hypothesis. I haven't got much evidence beyond the recording of this run to go on, as this only occurred while I was watching the footage, that the second wipe attack will always be the opposite paracausal energy type to the first, and that in any add phase you'll only be able to set up one light and one darkness refuge. So, if you take too long to create the seed chains, and he warms up for a third overwhelming energy attack, you'll have no means of protecting the fireteam and it'll be an automatic wipe. If anyone wants to give it a try, do please let me know if my hunch is correct. The runner who set up the refuge will now be a couple of nodes behind the other runner. This is a natural consequence of having to stop to set it up and is nothing to worry about. Once all 6 nodes have been connected on both sides, the fireteam will need to converge on a location to do boss damage, clearing any adds out when they get there. The Cluckers have a habit of using the second dark node location, not to gain any buff in particular, but to be on a low platform, which makes it much more difficult for Nezarec to bully you about. Any of the platforms can be used to set up on, so this is something you should agree with your fireteam before starting the encounter to make sure everyone's turning up to the same place. A beam of light and then darkness energy will hit Nezarec after a few seconds, releasing the paracausal energy he had stored for the next wipe attack and weakening him to damage, together with what Minnow refers to as his argle bargle sound cue. You'll now have a 30-second window for sustained damage. Like Rulk in the Vow of the Disciple raid, Nezarec is very mobile and will continue moving, attacking and jumping. His chest will continue to be his crit spot, but if you have someone to run Divinity, that will make the fight much easier. Wells are good to boost damage, and in their absence, healing rifts are also useful to stay alive as he retaliates and from incoming fire from any surviving adds. A Titan dropping a rally barricade to speed up reloads can be helpful too. If you're standing on a platform when he jumps up, he will land in pretty much the same place, so you don't have to look around to find him and can anticipate where to start firing again. Once the damage phase has ended, Nezarec will do a final jump dive attack, suppressing anyone nearby, become resistant to damage once more and teleport back to his platform. Before the next ad phase starts, take the time to reload all your weapons and pick up as much power and special ammo as possible before rinsing and repeating. With a good setup, you should be able to get Nezarec to his final stand in 2 damage phases, although the second darkness plate does have an annoying ridge that he can sometimes set up behind, which means you'll lose part of a damage phase. As we demonstrate here, there's no dishonour in taking 3 damage phases, but this is the maximum before he enrages. Once you get Nezarec down to his health bar marker, he will enter his last stand phase. He'll briefly go immune while he absorbs additional paracausal energy, and once vulnerable to damage again, you'll now need to kill him before he can unleash his overwhelming energy attack, so hold back some heavy and offensive supers just to make sure. Once he's dead, the boss loot chest will spawn on the high platform that Nezarec stands on at the beginning of each phase. The chest can drop the Acacia's Dejection Trace Rifle, Rufus's Fury Auto Rifle, Briar's Contempt Linear Fusion Rifle, and the exotic Conditional Finality Shotgun, as well as helmet, legs and class item armour. If you've completed the Deep Sight Garden sequence, you will also be guaranteed an additional Deep Sight weapon that you haven't yet completed the pattern for, and you'll have the opportunity to purchase another red box weapon from the Residuum of the Disciple Night Terror chest vendor using Spoils of Conquest. Your setup will depend on your role. Stunners will need a good distance weapon to break Nezarec's crit spots. You'll see both Aerin and Zone are using a sniper special weapon, as well as a decent CQC primary for helping with ad clear. Runners shouldn't be engaging with ads much at all, although they may need to defend refuges, so good CQC ad clearing weapons will be useful. Their builds should mainly focus on speed and survival, whether that means additional damage resistance, health regeneration or invisibility. Gunners will be dealing with ads at close and mid-range, so we'll need a combination of primary and special weapons that covers both. Ads will frequently be grouped together, particularly when spawning, so weapons with crowd control perks such as incandescent, vault shot, destabilising rounds and chain reaction, or exotic weapon poison effects will serve well, as will weapons with traits that provide refreshable damage boosts. Everyone will need boss damage weapons. When we did this, Thunderlord was pretty much the go-to. The combination of the lightning strike additional damage and partial reload makes it good for sustained damage, but a legendary LMG with a big magazine and passive damage boosting traits also works well, and the Legend of Acrius is reportedly very good too. I would say that explosive weapons are a bit of a no-no. Nezarec is just too close, and with everyone grouped together on the plate, too mobile for them to be anything other than dangerous. To you rather than him. Because he's very close, linear fusion rifles can also feel unwieldy, but feel free to use whatever is the boss damage meta when you run it. While I know only a few people in any clan might have it, Divinity will probably make you the most popular member of any fireteam, as it means everyone else can just focus on hitting the crit cage it generates. Without it, you'll need to aim at the chest crit spot when he's prowling around on the ground. If you're running Div, like sheep in our run, you can then use a light machine gun in your heavy slot for easy ad clear. Our setup was for Tooks and Minnow acting as light and dark runners, Aerin to act as the stunner and mid-area ad clear, with Zone mainly clearing ads in the middle but acting as a backup stunner just in case. Handling ad clearing was Frel on the light side on the left and Sheep on the right hand dark side. Minnow and Tooks start the encounter by shooting the darkness and light seeds and proceed to create seed chains on each side. Erin watches as Nezarec jumps down and, once his shoulders become infused with resonant energy and are vulnerable to damage, indicated by the striped markings, shoots them to reveal that the wipe attack will be overwhelming light. You can see this from the light aura that escapes after she shoots the second shoulder pad crit spot. Initially, Tukes and Zone have the Nezarec's hatred debuff until Erin is able to shoot his chest crit spot. Also, it's worth noting that Zone shoots the Abyssal Cleave Vortex to prevent it from targeting the rest of the fire team.
Right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Go.
With Erin calling out that it'll be the light energy wipe mechanic, Minnow creates a light refuge by taking the Flux of Darkness to the active seed at the second light side plate and shooting it. The rest of the fire team makes sure to dip into the aura to get the light's refuge buff.
It's a light refuge.
Okay.
Do we need to go?
And over. Yeah, I'm setting up on
wherever.
second plate here. On me.
Cool.
Only down our bulk. There we go.
Nezarec's back starts glowing to indicate he's about to use his overwhelming energy attack, which means that Guardians can leave the aura as the 15-second light's refuge timer will last long enough to survive. Tukes finishes connecting the light side seeds and all the nodes emit a pulse of energy. Minnow, as he's had to take time to set up the light refuge, has a couple left to complete.
Okay, light done.
I've got 2 more to do, but won't take long.
After the wipe attack, Nezarec teleports back to his starting platform. Erin hits one shoulder and demonstrates why it's not a good idea to take his timed hatred debuff before breaking his second shoulder crit. After shooting his chest, Nezarec chases her down, so he's alarmingly close when she's able to shoot his right shoulder out with a little help from Zone. Minnow finishes the darkness seeds and the nodes emit a burst of energy.
Oh my god, he's proper jumping today.
Right, it's because Sheep called him fat.
I'm sorry, I think I said that.
Dark stun.
Okay, 2 damage plate.
The fire team converges on Darkness Plate 2 for the boss damage phase, just as Erin hits Nezarec's second shoulder to reveal that the next wipe would have been darkness based.
Yeah, where Tukes is.
When the beam of resonant energy hits Nezarec and everyone hears the argle-bargle audio cue, the damage phase begins. As you can see, it's a single sustained damage phase that lasts 30 seconds and ends with a jump suppression attack.
He's up.
Got a div.
Sheep's got a div.
No, I have to reload.
Reloading. Immune.
Immune.
Yep.
You can now watch the rest of the video to better understand the cadence of the ad phases and boss DPS phase, the individual roles, and the flow of communication between the fire team members. You'll also see the Enrages Near warning at the end of the second damage phase, letting the fire team know that there's only one more attempt left to get Nezarec to his final stand health bar marker.
Any ammo.
That would be lovely.
I couldn't see a single brick anywhere.
No, same.
Okay, off we go again.
It's a dark refuge.
Okay.
That's not me.
I'll do it on the second blight in on dark.
Oh! Quite interesting.
Okay. It's working.
Quite hard.
Dark side done.
Alright.
If anything bad happens, it's light refuge.
No, we're on the last one. Fine.
Cool.
But I have no ammo.
I have literally
Yeah,
some.
shut down I took down a big guy in the middle, so there should be a purple one there for everyone.
Yep.
Easy damage?
Not yet.
No.
Wait until he does his Murloc Groggle Boggle.
Now
There we go.
that's, well,
Oh,
I don't see it.
Just
Ah, stand still. I hate when he does
Reloading.
this.
oh, bye.
Immune.
I mean,
he's immune.
Okay.
He got
It's not
Tukes,
that damage
but
considering.
he didn't say thank you.
Thank you.
So next time I let him die.
That's fair.
sounds fair.
If you weren't getting me die, I wouldn't have been dead. What now?
I mean, to be fair, Sheep, there is somebody within the clan who I would say is way harsher with Tukes than I am.
Who is that?
That's Dazzy. Dazzy?
Yeah, it's light refuge.
Nuts.
Are you being bullied, Tukes?
I would think bullied by Dazzy, yeah. It's alright, I just, you know, thin line between love and hate.
Second light plate for the refuge.
No, it's not, it's got all the bubble on it.
Oh shit. There we go. It doesn't now.
Is wiping.
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
on me.
shit.
Oh, my buff's gone all the way to the...
Bloody
Getting
shell.
down there.
Well, I currently only have harsh language. Fire at this boss.
Should be enough.
As I say, it's dark refuge if need be, but I don't.
No, I'm on the last one now. Dark side done. Ow.
Oh my god, he's damaged face already.
Yep.
He's
Needs
eager
an
to die.
replacement.
Oh, why did you just move? There it is. Right, get ready to pause.
Now,
Immune.
That's it.
reload.
That is damageable.
There we go.
Bye bye.
So long, bulk.
I am
The
gonna go
question
get
is,
the
did
chest
Zone get his
before
token?
Brawl takes us back to the
No,
loadout.
of course I didn't.
Oh, poor zone.
Yeah, I'm used to it.
What's the timer at, by the way?
The timer is at 37.
Yeah.
Cool.
You might have noticed that in the third phase, Minnow tried to set up a darkness refuge on the second light plate, but wasn't able to, as just as he arrived it was converted to the buff node by Tukes shooting the first node for the third time. It's only after Tukes returns from the fourth node and shoots it to take Field of Light again that the buff node moves, and Minnow fortunately still has enough Flux of Darkness time left to set it up. Just afterwards, Zone has incredibly good timing, or really bad planning depending on your perspective, dropping into the refuge at the moment that Nezarec triggers the overwhelming energy attack, taking damage but saving himself with barely a split second to spare. Also, as he's done throughout the raid, Zone runs very counterculture and is using Leviathan's Breath for boss DPS, another very viable option if you have someone running Divinity on your fire team. Well, that's it for the Muthaclucker raid guide for the Root of Nightmares. As you can tell, a few deaths shouldn't be enough to derail a run, so don't stress too much. Ideally, after watching this series, you'll now feel a bit more confident to step up into the more specialist roles and understand how to recover if you hit a snag, although there's nothing wrong with the occasional team wipe to reset an encounter. One final time, I'd like to thank my willing fire team, Aaron PK, Frel UK, Electric Sheep, Minonai, Tukes and Zone Runner for running the raid, and to Zone in particular for being my personal FAQ site. Also, thanks to Kaiba for their excellent raid loot infographic that I've used throughout this series, and to Priani for the awesome raid maps which saved me hours of creating my own in Illustrator. Just to set expectations, if you feel like subscribing to the channel, we don't post that regularly. This video has taken the best part of 3 months to put together, but I do occasionally throw in quick how-to videos, mostly for soloing content along the way. Likes and comments do help with visibility if you have the time and inclination. So, on behalf of the Cluckers, thank you for watching, we hope that's been helpful, and may all your drops be God rolls.